Michonne is just such a badass. She really is. And you know, how is your training? Is it any different? Maybe walk us through your training for season 6. Some of that sword training.
I mean, it's basically, I do the same thing every year, which is I basically go to my guy in LA about a month before we go back to shoot. And I just get back in the groove, I get back into her body, I get back into what she needs me to be able to do, which is more than I usually do for myself. And, you know, it really is kind of drilling myself into trying new things and feeling out, you know, getting really agile again. And then continuing that when I'm, you know, throughout the season, I just work out a lot more throughout the season than I do when I'm not on season, you know. So, you know, like, I basically have to, you know, I run a lot when I'm working throughout the season, because she's always running on this show. You're always running somewhere. And Michonne is always running with Rick. And Rick, Andy Lincoln, happens to be an extremely good runner. And I'm just like, okay, you know what, you know, stop having the Michonne and Rick run down the road scene. Can we stop that? Because I can't keep up with this guy. But yeah, so I do tend to run a lot during the season as a part of just working out consistently so I can keep up with Andy Lincoln.
Yeah, you two make it look really easy. But I know
it's easy for him.
And at least Norman Reedus, he gets the motorcycle. I know.
I think Norman won't be as bad a runner as me, but he gets the motorcycle, so he doesn't have to like do it.
So,
one of the moral compass is still alive. I think it has to do with the sword, and that's my question. Do they let you keep the sword? Or will it end up on eBay? Because right here, I will totally buy it. I got some bad neighbors, you know.
Well, here's the thing, a few things. Firstly, I will take one of those. I don't care what they let me do. I'm taking one of those. Secondly, there are about 3 or 4 of them. Like one of them, everyone has sort of put dibs on them, like the president of AMC has dibs on one, and the guy who designed them has dibs on one. And the one that I use the most is, then there's one that's sharp, so I've only used it a few times, like that can actually truly, like they can all do damage, but there's one that's seriously sharp that I use only when I really, really have to cut something, which is not that really good. You know, I'll take the duller one that I use all the time, but yeah, it's a very expensive weapon. I couldn't afford it on eBay.
thank you. You know, it's interesting what he said about you being the moral compass on the show, because you know he's right. Michonne, her character has really grown as other people have dropped. Her voice has gotten really stronger, especially when it comes to what to do in Alexandria. One of my favorite scenes, and you know, some of that back and forth that she has with Rick, which ends up with Michonne knocking him out. I was wondering if you can talk about not just maybe where her character is, you know, at that point, but also behind the scenes, filming that with Andrew Lincoln.
Well, it was kind of a journey between the two of us, because when we got to, I mean, the conflict started, even though it was resolved, but not fully. It started when, in episode 511, I think it was, when we first met Aaron. And that's kind of where it started, because Michonne was like, let's check him out, let's scope it out, but let's not just reject him immediately. And Rick was like, let's reject this guy immediately. And so Michonne was the one who went and checked him out and made sure he wasn't lying, and then said, we're going. Like, we're gonna die out here, and we have to go to a new place. We have to trust someone. And so it sort of started there, and Rick had so much fear because they'd gone through so much trauma. And Michonne understood what that was, because when we first met Michonne, she was shrouded in fear. And it came out as cold and stoic and distant and silent, but that was fear. It was fear of opening up to people. It was fear of being vulnerable. And so she understood what Rick was going through, and you know, she talks him through it, and then they get to the front of Alexandria, and they hear the kids playing, and she touches his hand, and they go inside. You know, that conflict started there, really, in a sense, because he really didn't let go of his fear of this place being not right. And she was willing to give it a shot and to really make it work. So, I mean, we kind of constantly we were kind of like not on the same, our characters were not on the same page for a few episodes, that finally led to the knockout scene in episode 15. And yeah, I mean, it was really hard. Like, I found it hard to have conflict with Rick, because it was just like, our characters have been so in sync. And I found it hard to punch him, honestly. And then this one time I really did punch him in one take. And then I felt really, really bad. And he's like, oh yeah, she just fell on me and cuddled, because I was like, are you okay? I'm sorry, I'm sorry. But you know, it was kind of this thing where it felt like she really understood that what she understood to be right was right. And she knew that he wasn't thinking quite as clearly. He wasn't being his best self in her mind. So to punch him was actually to give him a timeout. He just needed a timeout. It wasn't about, I'm against you. It was just saying, I know that your best self would not behave like this. No. I'm giving you a timeout right now. And I love playing that. I love actually allowing her, I loved how she's created that way. She has like a really calm strength. Like, she'll just do what needs to be done. She'll just do it. And if it involves something as uncomfortable as punching one of her best friends, she'll just do it, you know?